Welcome back to the Pain Game, and that was one of the best nights I've ever had. Riyadh season, Wembley edition, delivered in the biggest way humanly possible. We were commentating alternative commentary for DAZN. We were on YouTube and Twitter. We had 3 different streams going on. We did so much feedback from you lot saying how much you loved it. Thank you so much, and thanks to the lads as well on the stream. It was an unbelievable night. And just in case you missed it, here is a clip of my reaction to Daniel Dubois knocking out Anthony Joshua.
Oh! Right hand Anthony Joshua! He's outside, and Daniel Dubois is hit, but he answers for the shot of his own. What are we witnessing? What are we witnessing? Anthony Joshua is down. He's not going to beat the count. He is all over. He's knocked out. Anthony Joshua has been knocked out after hurting Daniel Dubois. I'm in shock right now.
And before I give AJ's performance the criticism that it deserves, to be honest, I have to give him the credit that he deserves as well, because no one's done more for British boxing than Anthony Joshua. And what he's always wanted was to be respected as a fighter who always fought the best, who went out there to kill or be killed and give the fans what they want. And that is exactly what he's achieved. He's proven he is that guy. He's a true warrior. Right? He proved he was willing to die on his sword. And when he was taken out, it was when he was trying to go for the kill. This is what boxing fans want. And Anthony Joshua gave us an unbelievable night, even if it was at his expense. But, you know, he did make a fair few quid in the process, so I hope he's not too down. But before this fight, I said that there were questions that still needed to be answered about Anthony Joshua and the weaknesses that we've seen in the past. How does he cope when he's in there with someone who actually brings the fire that he brings? Has he recovered from some of those previous defeats that left him a little defensive, a little gun-shy, a little less confident in there? Because as good as he looked in those last 2 fights especially, Otto Wallen didn't bring any power. Francis Ngannou did not bring boxing IQ for him. He had clear paths to victory. They were tailor-made to make him look good. And as great as those performances were, it wasn't enough for me to be completely sold on where AJ is at right now. We needed to see what Anthony Joshua was like when he was in there with another killer. And Daniel Dubois proved he's a fucking killer. He looked like a fucking vampire in there with the way he was going for blood. And this defeat is absolutely terrible for Anthony Joshua's career. And I don't want to say this because I really like the guy. I really, really do admire him. He's been a great champion. But Daniel Dubois is not the most skillful boxer in the world, man. He's a very gifted athlete. But AJ is also a gifted athlete. AJ is supposed to be the beast with a brain, though. The one who can outthink Daniel Dubois. When you consider how much resistance Big Baby Miller was able to put up to the power of Daniel Dubois, how much resistance Hrgovic was able to put up against Daniel Dubois, AJ couldn't live with Daniel Dubois from the fucking get-go, mate. From the first second. And as much as we all love AJ, we have to say it like it is here. And as people said before, the Andy Ruiz fight left scars. Even arguably the Klitschko fight left scars. Well, what the fuck is this going to leave behind? Because this was a whooping like we have never seen put on Anthony Joshua. This was a battering from start to finish. It looked like he didn't belong in there with him. He had nothing for him, actually. All right, at the end, he did hurt him. But for the longest time, it looked like there was a gulf of class in there. And it wasn't a gulf in class, actually, in my opinion. I'll get on to what I really believe this was down to. But I think a lot of people underestimated Daniel Dubois because of his defeat to Alexander Usyk. Alexander Usyk made Daniel Dubois look scarily easy, and they underestimated his power. And when people like Eddie Hearn are saying, well, if Anthony Joshua hits you like Hrgovic hit you, then it's all over. And I'm not disagreeing with Eddie, by the way, but I just think there was a huge blind spot of what happens when Dubois hits him, though. And fuck me, he didn't take them well, did he? And I said in my prediction, Daniel Dubois landed more punches on Big Baby Miller in 10 rounds than Anthony Joshua has landed in any of his 12-round fights. The kid's got an engine. He's not just big and strong, he is fit. And he brings high tempo from the get-go. And unlike Anthony Joshua, when Daniel Dubois had setbacks, had losses, mentally, he's very much the same in every fight. He fights aggressively. There's no timidness. There's no second-guessing himself. He's very single-minded. It's funny because people thought Dubois was going to shit himself in this 96,000 arena. I said before the fight, he's not an overthinker like AJ. He'll be fine in there. I didn't think he was going to win, but I thought he would perform as he normally does. And he did. And when you think about the fact that Daniel Dubois was only 4 pounds lighter than AJ, this was a very evenly matched fight. Something that AJ just isn't really used to in terms of athleticism, size, strength. He's always the dominant force in there. And one of the key things, in my opinion, that this fight come down to was self-belief. Daniel Dubois had it and Anthony Joshua didn't. Dubois went in there took the center of the fucking ring like he was the champion, which he was, but like in the eyes of the people, AJ was the king. He showed AJ zero respect, hunted him down like the Kingslayer that he said he was. And as soon as he landed that first shot, about 10 to 15 seconds in, Anthony Joshua was never the same after that. The minute he felt the power, didn't want to be in there. To be fair, he kept on going, but he was discombobulated physically from the second he got hit with that right hand within about 10 seconds. He stiffened up, his power wasn't there, his legs weren't coordinated. That was before he got dropped. AJ responded terribly to getting hit by Daniel Dubois before it even got bad. He got hit and he stayed hit, and his defense, my God, you've got to wonder what's going on in training camp. I mean, I'm assuming that wasn't the plan, but his chin was in the air, his hands were low, he looked completely like a fish out of water. And again, when you look at the way he fought Otto Wallen and Francis Ngannou, people who were wary of him, overly respectful of him, let him take his time, let him feel his way into the fight. AJ judged the distance perfectly in those fights. He couldn't judge the distance for shit in this fight. He didn't know where Dubois was at the start. And Dubois was closing that distance so quickly. It was beautiful. Because the feet of Daniel Dubois are very underrated. Sometimes he forgets to move them and he takes a few too many shots. But when he does move them, he moves very well for a big man. And it's funny because we were questioning Daniel Dubois' defense and his guard before this fight, thinking that's a major weakness for Daniel Dubois, right? His hands are up here like that. Sometimes he could drive a bus through the fucking guard. But Anthony Joshua never got a chance to test it because Dubois came in throwing first every fucking time. And it just made me think, like, how many times have we seen AJ in a ring with someone who athletically can actually match him where he hasn't got the advantages that he has, so that we can really see what he's made of? Because it's only when all things are equal and it comes down to up here that you really get a gauge of like the level of skill and wit and determination and heart and all these other things that you're really dealing with. You think about the Klitschko fight when, you know, the guy was 42. When he hurt AJ, he did not have the gas tank to put his foot down and step on it the way Dubois did. This was a serious test for AJ. And a brutal failure for him and his coaches. And a lot of people are going to make excuses for AJ. And I know why. We all love the guy. But it's time to get real after that. If you can't see after that, then you're not. What the fuck can you say, mate? There's no more talk about the old AJ or AJ wasn't his usual self. Get real. It was who was in front of him. What was coming back? He's not used to that normally. He's always overmatched in a lot of his fights. And as much as I love AJ and I'll always respect him, he's a fucking true champion. And I think he's a great man and he's been unbelievable for British boxing. This fight made him look overrated. Because when I look back at his record and I think of all of the fights that he's had and all of the opponents he's had, and I'm trying to pick one fight out there and go, which version of AJ would have beaten that Daniel Dubois? I can't pick one. Not one. Show me a version of AJ that can take that level of offense coming back at him and then fire back and win that kind of battle. I don't think so. I haven't seen it. And this isn't me trying to shit on AJ's legacy. I don't want to say these things, man. It's just my honest truth and my honest opinion. When you're Anthony Joshua, you are expected to beat a fighter like Daniel Dubois with the skill set he has. And therefore, we have to revise our opinion of what you are. Are you someone who has relied on being the bigger, stronger, more powerful, more quicker man, and you've come up against someone who has their attributes as well, and you got fucked up? It's not a good look in any way, shape, or form. Don't get me wrong, AJ's still a fucking legend. He's still a two-time world champion. He still did all those great things. But we've got to revise, where do we put him in the history books now when he's lost a fight in this fashion? It wasn't competitive. And look, AJ probably does have more skill than Dubois. But the point was, Daniel Dubois moved to him, was less afraid, had self-belief. I'm sticking it on you, pal. And he took the centre and AJ just backed away immediately. And look, I know AJ might have been trying to counter punch or whatever. When those punches kept coming towards him, he froze, man. And it's sad, man. It's like watching fucking Superman get beat up. You know what I mean? You're like, this guy's a hero, right? He's an absolute legend. But the facts are the facts. Now, one thing I will give him credit for was he just kept on getting up, right? He got dropped at the end of that first round. Dubois hit him with a massive right hand. That would have knocked out most fighters. And a lot of people talk about AJ's chin. Now, I'm not saying that when AJ gets hit, you know, he's perfectly fine afterwards. But he was awake and he got back up, and I'll give him credit for that. Like, he did show the warrior spirit. He wanted to continue. But he let that young lion feel like he belonged in there. And that was his first mistake. You do not want to let a young fighter like that grow in confidence so quickly. You need to stamp your authority immediately. But AJ was kind of like in that Hellenius fight state of mind of, well, I'll just fence with him and eventually, you know, the knockout opportunity will come and I'll take it when it's presented to me. Daniel Dubois was stealing it. I'm not waiting for shit. I am getting what belongs to me right now. And I'm going first every time. That aggression, that self-belief was so much more powerful than what Anthony Joshua had going on in his head. Round 2 was just shocking to see, right? Dubois come out guns blazing, AJ standing there, hands low, chin in the air. He's like, what the fuck are we watching, man? This is outrageous. It was round 2 and AJ didn't even look like he could throw punches properly. He looked knackered. Obviously, he was hurt. He wasn't knackered. I couldn't believe it. Like, there's one thing Anthony Joshua does well is technically he throws punches beautifully. It looked like he'd completely forgotten how. And I mean, I suppose that tells you how hard he'd been fucking clipped like. At the end of round 3, AJ gets dropped again after missing with a big overhand of his own. Dubois comes back with a left hook, staggers AJ into the ropes, and then he goes in for the kill. And what I do love about Daniel Dubois is his finishing instincts are really good. He piled the pressure on, got that knockdown. AJ beats the count, but goes into his corner just deflated. I mean, this is going terribly. In round 4, AJ slipped and went down. In my opinion, it was a slip anyway. He got back up and he was holding on a bit better. His survival instincts are terrible sometimes, in my opinion, in terms of like when you're at your most vulnerable and in danger, there's ways and means that hurt fighters can mitigate the amount of damage they're going to take. And he just doesn't do that well a lot of the time. But he did a bit better job of it in this round. And he looked like he was getting a little bit more energy back. And round 5 was just one of the most crazy rounds in boxing history. And that's not the first time I am saying this about Anthony Joshua. It really reminded me of Andy Ruiz because he cracks Daniel Dubois. And I'm thinking, oh my God, how on earth has he done this? He's wobbled Dubois. He lands another big shot. Dubois is backing up in a straight line right into the corner. And at that point, I'm like, we're going to witness the greatest comeback ever. And just as he's going in for the kill, Daniel Dubois, just a nice short little shot right on the chin, crumbles AJ. And that's all she wrote. And in my prediction, I did say what could easily happen. And I can see this happening, I said. Just like Andy Ruiz, he could hurt him. And he could rush in for the kill. And Daniel Dubois is not an overthinker. He just returns fire. And I really like that about Dubois' character. And he could get himself caught. And that's exactly what happened, man. That was his way back into the fight. And if he just backed off, been a bit more measured, he might have actually pulled off the unthinkable. Somehow. Because he's got insane power, even when he's fucked up. But credit to Daniel Dubois for seeing the opening, reading it, and catching him perfectly on the way in. I mean, it was one of the most unbelievable moments I've ever witnessed in sport. AJ likes to feel in control in the fight. He doesn't like the chaos. And you know what? That's exactly what Daniel Dubois brought to this fight. He never let him settle for 1 second. And it was an unbelievable performance from Daniel Dubois. I know I've said he's not the most skillful, but my God, he is gifted. They should call him the gift, right? This guy is unbelievable. And he got written off time and time again. People called him a quitter. And I said in my build-up videos, you've seen them if you've been watching, you can quit at things in life and learn not to quit and recover and rebuild and realize you are tougher than you thought you are and you don't quit the next time. People were just like, nah, he's a quitter. He's a quitter. He's a quitter. He's a quitter. Severely underestimated him. And what I really appreciate about Daniel Dubois is those losses did not define him and he came back stronger than ever. He is one of the most improved fighters in the whole of boxing. And now he's a legitimate world champion in my eyes. All right, he's not the undisputed, but if you beat AJ like that and you win a belt for it, I'm fine with that. Because that was amazing. And yeah, I'm really gutted for AJ, right? The guy is a class act. When I met him, I just thought, you're a true gentleman, you, mate. And I wish him the best. But sometimes when you've been the dream killer, karma comes back to get you. And now someone else kills your dream, right? And that's life, man. It's not always supposed to be win, 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 win. This is the new era of boxing. And it's about finding out who the fuck is the best. And on any given night, a lot of these heavyweights can fucking hurt each other. It's so unpredictable. And the data we'd had from all these fights was really bad. It was so hard to know what was going to happen. But I love this. This is what boxing is all about. This is why it's just clear of the UFC right now, man. You can't even compare the two. That drama and entertainment was unreal. I seen AJ getting interviewed in the ring right after he'd been knocked out. I don't think we should do that, by the way. I think AJ did not look himself in that moment. He probably doesn't even remember that interview, right? He needs time to recover before he does the press conference. But I did watch the press conference afterwards where he gave a statement, and unbelievably classy. And I know some people don't like that. Oh, show me a good loser, I'll show you a loser. What he's achieved in life, he's put many people to his sword, and there's a lot of people who can win, but not a lot of people who can lose with that level of class. He's a great man. I got a lot of respect for him. As for where does he go next, honestly, I don't know about the rematch. I heard Eddie Hearn mention something about the rematch. There's a rematch clause. AJ has suffered with the demons before and coming back. And look, he did come back against Andy Ruiz. And if he takes the rematch, then fuck me, you've got balls. And he has. He's already proven that. But I don't know if it's the sensible option. You could take a fight with Deontay Wilder, who's also in a bit of a low moment right now and lacking in confidence. That's a fight people wanted to see in the past. It would still get interest now. You know, if Usyk beats Fury again, people have wanted to see Fury versus AJ for years. And yes, it's far too fucking late. But guess what? That fills Wembley Stadium out again. And AJ's already said, I'm coming back for sure. Don't think I'm done yet. And, after an arse whipping like that, fuck me. He's a glutton for punishment. I do admire it. But they've just got to be really careful with the next move now, because Anthony Joshua's age and experience, there is no more rebuilds. You are who you are. The best hope you can get is not the skills, it's the mind and the body. And the mind in particular is the biggest worry after that. And I want to give credit to Daniel Dubois, because when you have looked up to Anthony Joshua for many years, and the eye has been on him, and he has been the king, and you've just been this kid who's trying to make his way through the ranks and had setbacks and often belittled, often not respected because he isn't the best talker. He went in there and showed everyone just who the fuck he is in that fight. It was spectacular. I've always called him the Forrest Gump of fighting, because much like Forrest Gump, right, he is a bit simpler in terms of the way he speaks, but guess what? Just like Forrest Gump, he's very likable, a very nice guy, and whatever he's told to do by them coaches, he executes to perfection. It might take him a couple of rounds to catch on, but he does it. And he's just a really likable guy, man, and I'm really happy for him. He's a real warrior. And the way he's came back from those defeats, it's not just a sign of a great fighter, but also a great man, and credit to him. And I have to give credit to Frank Warren. Frank Warren has really managed this guy fantastically well. He's nurtured him. He's got him really good fights. He's got him great experience. Maybe he pushed him a little bit too much at times, but he's done a fantastic job on Daniel Dubois. And now he's reaping the benefits, because this is a blow for Eddie Hearn. I like Eddie, but it's a rough one to swallow. I mean, God knows how he's feeling today, because this was the crown jewel of Matchroom, and it just got destroyed. Now, it's not that, AJ can't make money anymore or whatever, but when he was looking to be the next king again and come back, and Eddie was convinced, I could tell, and this will be a tough one to swallow. But I love this era of boxing, man. Boxing has just gone to another level with that night. It was an unbelievable Riyadh season card. I can't wait for the next ones, man. This is Christmas for us lot. This is the best time to be a fight fan in decades. And before I go, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who tuned into the live stream on the Pain Game, whether it be on the Twitter or YouTube or DAZN. You lot make this all possible, and that was one of the best nights of my life, and I can't thank you enough for all of the support you give us. It means everything, man. And if you haven't already, please hit the like button, stay subscribed, and I'll catch you on the next one.